Hello, this is Freddy with FreddyCanFly. Okay guys, moving forward, now that we've fully discussed menu G and all the ins and outs and everything, is we're going to jump forward into menu H. And again, just once you hit that set button, it's going to save your settings. So get ready, because some of these upcoming menus, they do auto exit. So before we switch, I'm still in menu G. Can toggle all my servos. Let's take a look at the graph real quick. Menu H is going to be for the Swash plate, and it's going to be the mixing feature. Now, if you guys can recall from an earlier portion of the video, we had talked about in the radio setting the CCPM function in the radio to normal or 1 servo 90, right? Because now we have this whole menu to select what our CCPM, our cyclic and collective pitch mixing values are going to be for the Swash plate. I have seen some models out there that are 140. They're kind of the oddballs. I have no idea what 140 1 is. I've never seen it, never used it. And a 90 degree, I have seen some of those. And they actually have like 4 servos on the Swash plate. Things like the Bergen's Intrepid turbine model, things like that. But here's what we're shooting for, right? 120 degrees. It is our factory default, but never make the assumption. So, let's jump back over to the Beast here. And we're going to go ahead and exit menu into menu H. And we should be on a red solid. Now, you guys probably can't see, because I have the camera zoomed out a little bit here, just so we can pay attention up here. It is at a red solid. If it's not, just use your transmitter, toggle your rudder left or right until you have the desired value. This menu is pretty straightforward. Now this one's kind of a fun one, and you guys are going to like this, because a lot of people get hung up on this, and this throws their entire programming off, and they're going banana sandwich over every servo going this way and that way, and it freaks them out. So once I initiate this next change into menu I, this is going to be for the servo directions. Now I want you to do me a favor and try to change the way your mind works for a minute. We are not looking for the servos to operate in the correct direction. What we're trying to do is find the right setting for the mixing. We want our servos to mix in the right function, if you will. We want our servos to mix proper. What I mean is, if I hit my collective, if I use my left stick and I move my stick, I'm gonna change my setting here. So right now I'm on red solid, which you can see here. This is what I ended up with. I had to change some things, but let's go ahead. I'm gonna put me on blue solid real fast. Okay, so you'll notice on blue solid, if I move my collective up and down, look at that. That is not going to propel my helicopter up and down. I don't care if the feature is reversed, right? If I give positive collective but it goes negative, I don't care. I want all 3 servos to mix together, right? Don't worry about the direction, worry about the mixing at this point. So right there I can tell, nope, my mixing is not correct. If I give forward elevator, that is not going to propel me forward, I'll tell you what. So I'm going to cycle through these. That's not a collective function. That is not collective pitch. Oh, there's my red solid. Now, see that? That is collective pitch. Elevator, forward, backwards, aileron, right and left. Now, in the off chance that you find the right setting, however, the functions are reversed. Meaning, if I push forward elevator, but instead of moving forward, my Swash wants to move backwards, right? Don't keep cycling through these settings, because you're never going to get it right. You found the setting that has the proper mixing. Now we just got to reverse the mixing feature, okay? Hopefully you guys are following me here. Again, if I give positive collective, but I'm getting a negative descent, that is the right setting, probably. But check all 3, right? The point is, collective should control all 3 servos together. Elevator should control the forward and backwards tilt. I don't care about direction. Aileron should control your left to right tilt. Direction doesn't matter. Once we have the mixing setting correct, which is red solid for me, then all you have to do is go into your transmitter and find the servo reversing feature. Once you find the servo reversing feature, as you guys can see here, each servo in your transmitter represents a mixing function for the BeastX system. What I mean by that is, let's say we take the pitch or the auxiliary 1 input. Beforehand on menu G, we were focused on one servo. Now in this menu, we're focused on the collective mixing, the CCPM. So if I give pitch up or collective up, and for any reason, here I'll even reverse mine for you real quick. So if I reverse pitch, notice here, when I go up on my collective, it's going down. When I'm going down, it's going up. I would love to see a pilot actually fly 3D with their pitch reversed. I would bow down to you any day. But you'll notice how that's reversed, right? The mixing, though, is correct. The 3 servos mix up and down. Do not get confused with this. That's why I try to keep restating it here. But so all I would do is come into my reverse feature and just reverse pitch. Boom. Now that pitch has been set to reverse, look at that. Boom. Up is up, down is down, up, down. Same thing. Elevator, if I move it forward and it's moving backwards, just reverse elevator. Aileron, if I move right and it's moving left, reverse aileron. Now, at this point, you guys should have a completely functional CCPM setup. Take in mind, based upon what we did in menu G, our swash should also be level. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to check for the level travel of the swash plate. That's coming up here in just a moment. But since we're in, jump back over here to the graph, menu I ended up right here on red solid. So it's not actually the factory default. This is going to change based upon how you mount it and everything else. So set yours accordingly. Let's go ahead and push the set button. That's going to bring us over here to menu J, which is cyclic pitch geometry. Now there's a lot of stuff going around about this menu that I ran into when this system came out and everything. You guys will notice if you look at the graph here, what's going to happen is, at this point, I'm going to skip this one for now, but I'm going to give you an explanation, and then we'll come back and complete it probably in the next video. But this is going to be for setting up the cyclic pitch geometry, essentially telling the system its limits, where it can go, where it can't go, the mechanical linkage, so forth and so on. But at this point, you would have your main rotor on, and you would have your main blades on. And as it specifies right here, the blades would be aligned with the body of the machine or the fuselage. So basically, one blade to the nose, one blade to the tail. Now, all it wants you to do is adjust 6 degrees of cyclic pitch onto the roll axis. Essentially meaning, put your pitch gauge on, make sure you zero it out wherever you need to, off the motor or the back of the machine, any level surface. Just zero it out where you need to be. Put your pitch gauge on, and all you're going to do is move the aileron left or right until you hit 6 degrees of pitch. It's that simple. But let's jump back over to the actual machine here. One really important factor on this menu that I think a lot of people run into issues with. Hopefully you guys can see my status LED here. It talks about in the manual that there's an optimize light setting. Essentially meaning that if you're in, so right now if I start moving it, I'm going to just kind of set it up real quick. If I start to move my aileron, I eventually end up with a violet light. In the manual it specifies violet light is not optimal. We want to shoot for a blue light. So if we keep going, now we're in red. Getting close, not quite there. And we keep going, boom, now we're in blue. If I max this out all the way, it's blue. So it's violet, red, or blue, right? A lot of people ran into issues where they would be teetering right between red and just a little bit more of a nudge gives you blue. Some people had issues where at 6 degrees of pitch, they were so far from blue that, you know, they're going back and revisiting their servo arms and their linkages and everything. And again, I will tell you this, a lot of the models that I have flown, especially the older Align models that I use this system on, I was always in the violet and never had a performance issue. Now, if you can land on blue, good for you. That means you're good to go. If you're on violet, don't stress. Just finish your setup, give it a flight, and see how it feels. If you really want to go back through and start shortening and changing the distances on your ball and getting bigger servo horns and this and that, feel free to do so. But I had found, again, that if you're teetering on violet to blue, maybe a couple little nudges here and there to get you to blue, it's not a big deal. The big deal is the 6 degrees of pitch that it's asking for. So set it to 6, observe your light. If you're at violet, maybe give it a little bit of a nudge. I'm sorry, not at violet, but if you're at red, give it a little bit of a nudge and see how far away from blue you are. If you're at like 6.2 degrees of pitch or 6.5, just go back to 6 degrees and live your life. You're going to be just fine. But if you have to get to like 10 degrees of cyclic roll just to get to the blue light, there could be mechanically something off. Okay, so this is an important menu. But since I don't have the main rotor on, all I'm going to do is I'm just going to scooch it over till it hits blue, and we can just move on with it from there. But just a quick thing to talk about, once we actually do the head setup, you know, the blade pitch and everything, we'll talk a little bit more and I'll demonstrate that with the pitch gauge. But again, right now we're focusing on the foundation, ground up, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and set that to blue just for now. And let's move on to menu K. Now this menu here is my best friend. Let's take a look over at the graph. Collective pitch range. Per the text here, collective stick on max and minimum position. We can then use the tail stick to adjust desired pitch. Okay, let's jump over to the helicopter. I love this feature because I can set my minimum and my maximum pitch range. But let's set neutral here. Let's go to 0 degrees of pitch real fast. Sorry, I'm just exiting my servo reverse here. This gets overlooked a lot, and I have flown people's helicopters with this system that when you do climb outs, tick-tocks, pirouetting, pogos, whatever fancy terms you want to throw around, for some reason the machine jumps left to right or right to left or forward and backwards, and it's a sloppy mess. It's a nightmare. Whereas when you fly a really well set up machine or even a simulator, for some reason it's like you can just go up and down all day. And that heli, it just doesn't move. It stays on rails, right? Well, that would be because you have an inconsistent swash plate travel. Now, in menu G, when we centered our servos and did our linkages and leveled our swash, what we focused on was the foundation of the system. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to check for any inconsistencies that we may have missed. And the way we're going to do that is I'm going to go ahead and go center stick, which would be technically 0 degrees of pitch. We don't know that yet because we don't have the main rotor on. I'm going to go ahead and place on my swash leveling tool again. Now, if I'm at 50 in, 50 out per the pitch curve, or center stick, and I observe, swash is still level. Okay, that's good. Now, here's what we're going to check next. We don't know what our desired pitch range is, because, again, we don't have the main rotor on, so we don't know if we're getting our plus and minus 12, 13, 5,000, whatever you're looking for. What we do know is we want to make sure that as that swash plate travels up and down, it remains just as level as it does at the neutral position. So, what I'm going to do, again, with the BeastX, is I'm just going to give it a full collective up. Now, at this point, let's observe our tool. Still level. That is a positive sign. Now with the BeastX though, if I go ahead and give, now that I'm at full collective, I can give a left or right input to increase or decrease my positive range. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to max that out as high as it can go without any servo binding. Don't damage anything. But I'm just observing that thing stays level throughout the entire range. Doesn't move once. That's good. So I'm just going to kind of pick a spot to leave it. You know, maybe about there, just for now. You'll notice once you let off the rudder, you get a flashing light. That means that the setting has been saved. So I now know from neutral to as much as I can max out on these servos, I get a perfectly level travel on my swash plate. Now this is where sometimes people get frustrated, because now I'm going to test the negative range. And what if for some reason on the negative range we have one servo that lags behind and the servo doesn't stay perfectly level? Again, we're going to have to revisit menu G and readjust our foundation. Maybe that one servo is a little bit off of 90, or mechanically that linkage needs to be increased or decreased. Then we just re-go through those couple of steps and then land ourselves right back here on menu K, and we'll repeat this step. So we know from 0 to positive, it's perfect. It doesn't budge at all. So let's go down to our negative. And let's just kind of max that out as much as it'll go without any binding or any damage to the machine. And yeah, hot damn, that thing stays perfectly level. So I'm gonna say that's probably like a freaking negative 15, if not more. I mean, it's deep, but if I move that nice and slow, that swash remains nice and true, nice and level. Guaranteed, when you give collective climb outs, TikToks, pirouetting, pogos, whatever it is that you're doing out there with yourself, this machine is going to stay stable the whole time. Big, big important tip right here. Menu K. Let's jump back over here. Menu K. Make sure this menu, that collective range, is 100% level. If it's not, exit programming and jump back here and just repeat these steps until you get it. If you don't, your heli's still going to fly. Don't get me wrong. It's just not going to be perfect. And that's what we're shooting for, is perfect on these things, because that's how you get the best performance. Okay? So, menu K. We've tackled it. Everything looks good. We'll go ahead and we'll exit out of that into menu, what are we at now? L. Cyclic limit. Okay, this is kind of a good one. Let's jump back over to the camera. Now this one again is kind of hard to do without the main rotor installed, but you can. And the reason why I say it's hard because we don't know our full collective range yet. But it's basically this simple. What I like to do is I like to use corners. So I'll go to each corner of my cyclic travel and adjust accordingly. So for example, if I go top right, so let's go full forward elevator, full right aileron. All I got to do is move my rudder left or right, and I want to find the maximum amount of travel I can get without any binding, right? Or again, if you look at the BeastX, it'll go from a violet to red to blue for the resolution and just the overall geometry. So again, I'm just going to kind of nudge it until it hits blue, check each spot, and let's make sure I'm not getting any binding. No wires are rubbing or grinding on anything. I don't need to worry about any damages. At least I know I'm safe there. Take it up to your max collective and do the same. Take it up to your full negative, do the same. And everything looks pretty good for me. So I'm just nudging it right to where it hits blue. We'll find out more about this setting later, again, once we have the full main rotor on and we can really see all the parts moving. We're just getting that base programming done. Okay? Now this next menu, this one I love. This is a good one here. So we're going to jump into menu M. Boom. For some reason with the flybarless platform, again, there was a lot of just confusion, if you will, about this. Let's jump over and look at the graph real quick. Menu L, cyclic, or I'm sorry, menu M, I apologize, sensor directions. Now this is all just strictly going to be based on how you have the BeastX mounted and at which orientation you have it mounted. Again, we've got our color selections that we can go for, and we've got our factory default here. Basically, here's what you guys want to see. Right now I am on selection solid red for my settings. So let's see. Solid red is right here. One axis is normal, one axis is reversed. Again, this could be due to the direction in which I have my unit mounted. Jump over to the heli. All you're looking for is this. You'll notice that your controls are disabled, right? You can't move up and down, and you can't move your cyclic forward or backwards. But what you can do is move your rudder left or right to select the different gyro modes. It's as simple as this, guys. Pick up the heli, tilt it forward. The swash plate should counterbalance. It should tilt backwards. So if I pick up my machine and I tilt forward and the swash goes forward, not the setting for us. What we're looking for is it's always going to be the opposing reaction. So if I move forward, swash goes back. If I move right, swash goes left. So let's see if we can demonstrate that. Again, this is a big machine here. And I got a battery pack right here. Okay, so there we are. I'm going to tilt forward, swash goes back. I'm going to tilt back, swash goes forward. So essentially, if you keep that swash level with your eyes, it should remain level forward and backwards. Then you'd want to rotate it this way, same thing. If I go right, it goes left, left it goes right. So basically, no matter what this heli's doing, that swash is counterbalancing at all times. You'll also notice, though, if I give it an input, it'll eventually self-level, waiting for its next command, right? Now I go back down. It's going to self-level, waiting for its next command. That's what the 3-axis gyroscope does. That's what the flybarless system is designed to do. Because we no longer have a mechanical stabilizer known as a flybar. We're all electronic. So that's what the counterbalancing is doing. Make sure 110%. If you go forward, it goes back. If you go right, it goes left. If these are wrong and you try to fly, may God be with you, because you are going to have yourself a very interesting afternoon. Okay, so make sure that's right. My setting ended up again on red solid. Yours will vary. And last but not least, this menu, menu N. Jump over to the graph here real quick. Pirouetting optimization direction has two settings. One is normal, one is reversed. Factory setting is for normal. I had a hell of a time trying to explain this to the numerous amount of phone calls that I've had from people about this system. So jump over here with me real quick, back to the heli, and let's see if I can try to make this make sense. I don't really have the room right now, or the right camera angle to fully Piro this machine, but let's at least talk about it. So you'll notice that when you enter into this menu, the swash plate automatically tipped on an angle, right? I want you to try to picture the bottom of your swash plate and what angle it's at. Boom. Instead of being level, it's tipped. Now, my setting is on red, which is the default setting, but it also could be on the reverse. We'll find that out here in just a moment. What we're looking at is, since it tipped like this, if I pick up this machine, and what I usually do is I'll hold it by the mast here and just rotate the tail around or something. If I'm on this angle, no matter what orientation my tail spins, the swash plate should not move from this angle, right? So this means sideways, nose facing you, other sideways, back. The swash remain on this angle. If for any reason I start to pick up the heli and rotate it and the swash moves in different angles, reverse your setting. So I guess another way to look at it is if you do one full revolution, if you pick up the heli and spin it all the way around, and you set it right back down, the swash should be on this exact same angle. So let me try to demonstrate that, right? So I'm going to turn my setting in the wrong spot real quick. Okay. Swash doesn't move or anything. Let's see. So it's either blue or red. So I'm going to put mine on blue. Okay. So again, we are on this angle. I'm going to pick my heli up and I'm going to do one full rotation real quick here. it's a big heli. Sorry, guys. Okay. Okay, I did one full rotation. And my swash plate, instead of being on this plane and this angle, it's actually now on this angle, right? So the bottom of the swash is tilting this way instead of this way towards the nose and tail. Does that make sense? Now, if I reverse that and we try to make that make more sense, again, now our swash is stuck where it's at unless I exit and re-enter programming, which I can do actually real quick. Let me jump out. Okay, and we were on menu N, so let's go back in. K, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N. Okay, now reset. We're back on this angle. The nose has it tilted up, the tail has it tilted down. Now I'm going to pick it up, and I'm going to do that rotation again. Bear with me here. Oh, that's a big boy. Okay. Now, one full rotation. Swash plate is on this angle. This end is up towards the nose. This end is down towards the tail. It didn't change the plane at which it's tilted, okay? Hopefully that makes sense. I have no other way of trying to explain that. Visually, just look at it. One thing you can do is just keep your head tilted. So like, you know, like this, and then as you rotate the heli, when you return it back to its initial position, your head shouldn't be moved from your tilt, right? If you're like this, or like this, or like this, then just reverse the setting, okay? Once you push that button, we will then exit menu N, and you'll notice that we're done. Let's jump back over to the graph here. You'll notice that we are now done with the setup menu. So once I push the button, you'll see it exit. Swash plate will do its little jumps. And there we go, we're done. Now, parameter menus, we're going to go into, that's going to be the last thing that we do. So in the next video, guys, this one ran a little bit long. So in the next video, what we're going to do is we are going to install the main rotor. Okay, let's actually jump back over here. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to install the main rotor. I'll get my linkage arms made up from Swash to my blade grip arms. We'll put on our blades. And we'll kind of revisit the exact same programming, but we're going to just do it in the fashion that we've got the foundation done. Now we need to go from the floors up, right? One more look over here at the manual. So we'll jump back in the next video, and we'll try to complete the tail and the rest of the head setup all in one. So we'll look at the tail. But what we're going to want to do is that cyclic pitch geometry, our full collective pitch range, and actually set up our swash plate cyclic limit for, you know, if you want plus and minus 12 on cyclic, whatever you're doing there. And then we'll be able to exit out of that. Then we can finish up on the rudder settings. It's only 2 settings for the rudder. It's very, very easy to do. And then also, we will talk more in depth about the parameter menus. This will be, I'll give you guys a good base value and everything for your initial test flights. And then also how to increase and decrease them and what to do next. But minus all my talking and all my nonsense, guys, I hope this was very, very helpful. The next video should complete our full setup. That way you guys can get out and get flying and get enjoying the BeastX lifestyle. So don't forget to like and subscribe. And as always, my heli friends, remember, if Freddy can fly, so can you.